red, blue, purple light, friends. Red, blue, purple light, friends. Facts. Red, blue, purple light, friends. Red and blue, purple light, friends. Facts. You can get to know the ledger, sacrilegious Sunday to melanin Monday. You can get to know the ledger, my love. Just open your third eye on Thursday. Lord, the food, the art, the clothes, the Vatican's getting exposed fast. We put the show on the road. You better stay on your toes. I was till the land focused on the ego. Then I opened my heart, let go of the ego. Grand after grand, we stacking up these C notes. Facts, facts, yeah. We gon' put this shit on our backs. Facts, facts. We in your city, pull up where we at. Facts, facts. Peace, love and light. Peace, love to the family. Peace, love and light to the family. Peace, love and light to the family.
These days and time, black man, is going to be the time that you have been waiting for. You came here for a reason. Whatever pressure, whatever adversity, whatever the fuck you feel, I don't know what you feel, but whatever you may be feeling is going to push you, and it's going to provoke you, and it's either going to make you or break you, similar to how pressure busts pipes or the shit makes diamonds.
Peace to the family, peace to you and yours, peace to the family, peace to you and yours. Welcome, 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 welcome. You are now rocking with the best. Yes, this is your host for the evening, Brother Red Pillar, soon to be joined by special guests in the building, y'all. Man, this one right here, don't even let me start. First and foremost, that song that you just heard, that was the Facts remix by the 44 Tops. The new album will be dropping on February the 7th, which is on a Friday, February 7th. We will be debuting the 44 Tops album. All right, that's that cosmic soul and whatnot. If that sounds good, if that's something that was vibrating with your spirit and your soul and whatnot, you got a whole album coming on the 7th, 44 Tops. And we will have the hard copy at Brother Richard's event on the 8th, the Non-Ether Godfest. Shout out to everybody coming to the ATL to celebrate during Super Bowl weekend. You know, we're going to turn up. It's no other way around it. We are going to turn up. We are going to make this one memorable. We got a spot. We got a jump off going on the next day, Super Bowl Sunday. We calling it the Superhero Super Bowl Party. Look, if you want to dress up like a superhero, do it. If you want to pull up like Black Adam, then do that. If you want to pull up like Dr. Manhattan, then that's on you. We got a Super Bowl party. We don't even do the Super Bowl like that, but we're going to watch the halftime show. And I like the whole Eagles and Chiefs motif and whatnot. I could play off of that. And then the next day on Monday, we will be in New Orleans. You know, we riding this thing all the way out. You know what I'm talking about? Full ritual. We tapping into all of the energy that they've been building up this whole year around the Super Bowl and the halftime show. We here for that. We here for that. You bet your bottom dollar. Let me go ahead and bring in my guest and whatnot as we wait for my third guest. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to bring the young God to the stage and whatnot. If you're not familiar with him, you will be familiar with him by the end of the night. This is one of the young masters who is holding the torch firmly and whatnot, blazing his way through the airwaves. Ladies and gentlemen, without any further ado, I present to you none other than Bdell1014. Peace.
Peace.
Peace to the God.
Thanks for having me on, and peace and gratitude and honors to you and your platform, your channel, and everything that you've been doing for the past years, giving out this edification for the people. So I appreciate you bringing me on, brother.
Indeed, good brother, man. I'm honored to have you on the platform. It's always good to have new energy, new voices and whatnot.
Right.
When it comes to Know the Ledge as a brand and just as a staple in this community, the twin pillars, me and Blue, we known for bringing, new talent to the stages and to the world and whatnot. So to have you here as a KT alien,
okay.
Look, yeah, that part.
Salute.
Real quick, King, can you introduce yourself to the audience in case I have anybody in my network who may not be familiar with you?
Okay. Well, I go by the name of Bdell1014. My nomenclature title, my Moorish name is Bright Out Rice Bay. You can find me on YouTube at Bdell1014. And Instagram, you can find me at Bdell1014. I also talk about quantum physics, metaphysics, mind science, technology. I break down monotheistic religion. We get into, a multitude of things because I'm very aware of the science of circumology, where you study all things to get one truth. So we touch in on everything. We go into the esoteric science. We go into Kemetic spirituality, Hermeticism, Gnosticism. We touch on everything. And we basically, try to bring it to the forefront and basically align it with everything that's taking place on the planet when you're talking about these current events.
True indeed. I got a few questions, just in regards to what it is that you just said, just to have a because to have a better introduction to not just my audience, but anybody that ever comes across these transmissions, because these transmissions are similar to the transmissions that we would hear from the resistance,
Right.
Can you share with the family, when you incorporate so many different schools of thought and knowledge, like what is your inspiration for doing that? Because I come from a generation where, early in my days, not really in my class and whatnot, but the class that came before me, a lot of people would just stick to one lane. They were like, are you a Nation of Islam, or are you this? It was like there was no room for blending the disciplines, or what we would call the schools of thought and knowledge. And it seems you have a firm understanding of the different schools and knowledge, and you're able to weave them together seamlessly. So can you share that with the family? Why did you take that route?
Well, one thing when it comes to, the esoteric information, I feel like, like I said, I studied the science of circumology, meaning that you got to study a multitude of schools of thoughts in order to get one understanding, because a lot of people get caught up into the mythologies to the point where they basically miss the story and they miss the message. Like when you go to the book of Enoch, Enoch is basically Tahuti, Thoth, Hermes. These are basically all the same entities. So a lot of times, I try to combine the microcosm with the macrocosm. So it also applies to our genetics. So for those who are just stuck into the surface level information, as far as like who's the true Lord of the Bible, or who is Enoch and in the book of Enoch, and just really just bringing everything all together to where people can understand everything intuitively. Because like I said, it's because of the cultures and different heritages and different schools of thoughts, different religious systems. People don't understand like what's going on, so they can't really decipher and read between the lines.
Indeed.
That's why I do what I do, because it's really all the same story when you break down and dissect everything. You just really got to find the characters and how they basically correspond. Celestial bodies and our genetics as well. So
Right.
just like I was telling in my last transmission that Mercury is associated with the heart, and Mercury is also associated with Tahuti. So that's
Right.
also, acclimated to Kemetic spirituality when you're talking about balancement. So like I said, you got to study all schools of thoughts in order to understand everything intuitively. So that's why I do that. And I try to make it simplistic as possible, but
Mhm.
a lot of times it's hard to do that.
Indeed.
Mm-hmm.
Indeed. No doubt. I'm going to bring on our third guest in the building.
Okay.
All right. And this good brother, he also has an engineer's mind, such as
Mm-hmm.
yourself. You know, he does a very good job of juggling different schools of thought and knowledge, and he has his own fusion style, similar to yours as well.
Mm-hmm.
And this combination right here is I think somebody should holler at Stan Lee because a lot of mutant activity on this line, right? It's giving big mutant activities.
Right.
So without any further ado, ladies and gentlemen, I want to bring to the stage KTL alumni, all right? Our good brother, a scientist, an alchemist, you know what I'm talking about? An encoder, a decoder, none other than our good brother, Alkebulan44 in the building.
Salute.
Peace, peace, peace,
Peace
Peace.
to the God.
peace, peace. It's an honor to be on the platform again with you, Red. Bdell.
I
This is
salute,
an
brother.
honor. Peace, God. Peace,
Mhm.
God. It's an honor. So, I'm looking forward to see what type of information we can weave all together. We know there's a lot going on, a lot at stake. So like you were breaking down, B Dell, it's important for us to really begin to understand the concept of basically having the capacity to be able to see the broader picture. Because in reality, like I've always said, what we're seeing and what's being demonstrated is predicated on what's going on in the stars. So,
Mhm.
if we can take an immediate inventory of our everyday experiences, because everything is happening as above, so below, like we said. So, the narrative itself is playing out through everybody's uh, personal experiences, but there's small tidbits that you got to really hang on to and relative to what's going on, because the idea is to be able to circumvent your own immediate reality and thus be able to draw together the bigger picture and see what's really playing out. And you put yourself in the story relative to what's playing out in real time. So, just outside of looking at what's going on in the news, it's really important to, like I said, survey your own immediate reality, because there's things that might be playing out within your own situation that corresponds to what's playing out in the stars. So, we're talking about, mythology. We're talking about signs and symbols. We're talking about, different symbology relative to, the Freemasons and all of this. So,
Right.
Mhm.
again, it's an honor.
Indeed. Real quick, just for I don't want to assume anything. We're sharing platforms. B-Dell's platform is with us tonight.
Mhm.
The KTLians in the building. I didn't even introduce myself to the panel and whatnot. I don't want to assume that everybody knows who Red Pillar is and whatnot. But brother Alkebulan44, please introduce yourself briefly to this global audience and let them know who you are.
Yeah, I'll keep it line 44. For those who haven't tapped in, uh, for me, uh, it's all relative to science. I like to bring in physics so that way we can understand the mechanics of the reality that we exist in, because we all understand that everything happens in the mind. So, I took a liking to engineering, schooling, and that allowed me to basically facilitate a broader way of basically being able to demonstrate spiritual science in real time, real reality. So, uh, that's just my lingo, and that's the angle that I like coming from. I love what our ancestors demonstrated, with the language that they presented relative to the hieroglyphs that
Yeah,
served as a form of symbology. That's dealing with a specific light language that talks directly to the genetics of the individual that come from that area. So, building the mind is important. and manufacturing and architecting a reality predicated on a deeper level of science that's multidimensional can really bring some things, you know, into your personal affairs. So all this information that our ancestors taught that they left behind is still prevalent. It's still relevant, you
Right.
know. So it's key to begin to know as well that we are those ancestors today, and as opposed to always you know, sensationalizing what we did in the past, we got to understand that all those encryptions on the walls and things of that nature deal with microbiology. So for me, you know, I took a very 180 shift uh, based on just practical demonstrations of even something as simple as meditation. You know, and
Right.
going within, you know, going into the inner mysteries and really discovering some things that our ancestors were really speaking about way back when. So we got to begin to, you know, start demonstrating that in real time, and you know, leveling off the playing field with the sciences that they demonstrated and what we bring about today. So
Right. Indeed. What is your field of expertise in trade, Bdell? Are you an engineer as well?
I'm a thermal engineer.
Okay.
Yep.
So I made a comment yesterday where I made an observation and I said that the three most important people in this community that I could speak of in this moment are the engineers,
Mm-hmm.
the developers, and the coders.
Mm.
Not to take anything away from any other field of expertise or any teachers out there or any of the professions that they proclaim, but the engineers, because it is definitely time. You know, it doesn't take a rocket science to look outside and see who is running the world and who's creating, who's innovating, who is moving, who utilizes kinetic energy and willpower to bring new things into this reality.
Mm.
There's man that's stagnant, and then there's man that's moving and whatnot. And man that's moving is doing such by way of programming, engineers, and coders, right? So in my days and times and my travels, I seen a lot of people that were stagnated. You know, they were stuck in the past. They were romancers of the stone. That's what we would call them. You know, they were romancing the stone and whatnot, but they weren't talking about being innovative in the now or presently present. They were not talking about how to solve problems and how to create solutions with technology or just with, you know, just simple problem solving.
Mm.
So, you know, I want to give salute to everybody that's applying mathematics, applying real solutions in the real time, and then putting that mind to our issues, into our research, and into our studies and our ways of teaching and whatnot, and giving that to the people. So yeah,
mhm,
I
mhm.
appreciate that.
Facts. Now, one thing, speaking on due to the fact that we're both of us are basically engineers, one thing I do notice about being in that industry is that everything is operated by way of the doctrine of signatures about who we are genetically. So we have this thing inside, you know, it's an extruder and it has different chambers, and those chambers are basically emulations of the chakra system. So you have a head pressure transducer, and then you have a another transducer at the forefront of the machine, and that's basically the emulation of your neuroendocrine transducer, to where you're able to get an influx of energies as far as like coronal mass ejections and things of that nature. But it's really just talking about the doctrine of signatures of our genetics, because the inception of thermo engineering in itself, I think it came from Kemetic, from ancient Kemet, I believe. I think it derived from that aspect of it. So really, like I said, everything in westernized technology is really just an emulation of who we are genetically. But we just have to know how to have the resources in order to tap into the same energy that the machines is able to do. We're able to do the same things, you know, genetically, as far as like DNA activation, upgrades, and being able to break out of the gematria body, and you tap into the Zohar body,
Mm.
Mm.
which is
Yeah,
your higher self. For those who don't understand what the Zohar body is.
Yeah. That's key. That's why, like I said, engineering for me was the pinnacle. Just relative to just understanding the left brain side of how that, how that worked, and
Mhm.
just corresponding it with the spiritual science. Whether we're talking about vorticular physics, of course, that's dealing with the spiral, or what you consider the vortex. That's dealing with vorticular mathematics, or what some people call vortex mathematics. But all of these things are important. So, when you're diagnosing a problem on, let's just say, a panel relative to a machine, and
Mhm.
you open up that panel, a lot of things that are in that panel relative to electrical circuitry correspond to everything in the body.
Fact.
Mm.
You got a transducer, you got a rodent coil, you got certain uh,
Yes.
wires that correspond with grounding, and you got the red wire, the black wire. I mean, it's so much.
Mhm.
So that's why my interest peaked in that area, because as I'm studying the body, I'm like, damn, all this shit, like, it connects.
And
You
you know
know.
what's crazy about the shit? Because when you look at an extruder over the course of time, and it extracts like a form of plastic, but it over time it materializes in physical form. So I wonder if the transducer is basically a catalyst for you to manifest things in your physical reality, if you get what I'm saying. It's
Yeah, I
not
would.
like, so it's like, it's because you have a screw inside a machine, which is basically an emulation of the spine as well.
Mhm.
Spine,
Well,
as far as like the Kundalini serpent, serpentine regeneration spinal fire.
right. Well, yeah, I mean, that would make sense, because the spine, is piezoelectric. The brain itself serves as a transducer.
Facts.
The brain sits in, plasma that's electrically conductive, what we call structured water. So, in essence, the brain, yeah, being a transducer, serves as that to pull from the magnetic field, which is our mind, and
Mm-hmm.
even a
Mm.
higher magnetic field, which is the planetary magnetic field. And that's why it's important as well to study physics too, because with the solar flares going on, our planet, moving into a completely different alignment, the air itself is becoming more electrostatic.
Facts.
And when you have a higher voltage of air or compression within this space, within this medium that we exist in, you have a higher level of information coming through. So the brain serving as the transducer, all this information that's pouring in from different star systems and things of that nature are impeding on our magnetic field. And I would always love to teach, even through fasting or any form of relative stress. The brain, processes or produces a protein called BDNF, which is brain derived neurotrophic factors. When you put your brain through a level of stress, whether it's studying something that's
The
complicated,
gym.
whether it's the
Mhm.
gym, whether it's fasting, that initiates a level of neuroplasticity where literally you begin to rewire the brain and open it up to access more of that magnetic field where all that information is stored.
Mhm.
So yeah, the brain, yeah, absolutely, would serve
So
as the transducer in that sense.
So people who remain under constant traumatic experiences, and for people who remain emotionally charged, like our people, is that a source of our enduring strength? Is that something that could basically be alchemized into energy?
Absolutely. Stress, trauma, that's all stored, within the tissues of the body. So just basically something as simple as exercising, alleviates that pressure and that stress predicated on breaking the tissue and the muscles down to rebuild them back up.
Mhm.
Right.
So that's a testament if we have the perspective to look at it that way. But at the same time, it's been flipped to where we become victims of our experiences, and we're not taught to utilize certain negative traits, experiences, memories, to our advantage.
Mhm.
So if we understand how alchemy works, we can, alchemize these experiences and literally turn them into gold. It's all relative to the perspective. But yeah, that's a keen analogy of looking at that.
Mhm. That's a fact.
Interesting. I don't want to lose focus on, I do want to get in a conversation about the title tonight.
Okay.
But I don't want to miss the opportunity to get some insight from both of you brothers about the divine alignment that is taking place above our heads right now. So as above, so below. With all of the planets, with 6 planets in alignment, um, what is the I want to look at it through the lens of a master observer,
Okay.
right? What type of energy, what type of positive um frequencies, and also what type of ceremony could one do in these next few days to tap into that power that's amongst us right now?
Well, one thing you gotta understand about planetary alignments, it basically enhances the flow of cosmic energy. So the significance about this planetary alignment, now this one is basically accumulation of 6. So the next one we're gonna have is gonna be on February 28th, I believe, and that's gonna be 7 planets aligning. So
Okay.
both of those together, you get 13. 13 is a restoration number, it's a matriarchal number. So 13 is also represented by the energy of Ophiuchus, which is the 13 zodiac wheel. That is also applied to the indigenous people as you're going through this restoration process with the Republic. Now, it's not coming from, the factions of Donald Trump, you know what I'm saying? Because he's propagating a different golden age, but we have our own timeline. So
Right.
these celestial alignments is basically the personification of the silver key and the golden key that opens up the golden gate. And that golden gate is basically, like I said, the resurgence of Ophiuchus, which is another form of the black sun in different mythologies. And that
Okay.
black sun has the ability to manipulate, the tectonic plates or the chakra points of within, our planetary alignments or whatever. So that's why I was saying it's basically in alignment with who we are. So planetary alignment basically means that we're supposed to be harmonizing with the same energy. We got to get in alignment as well. So just like you had the root chakra, whereas Mount Shasta, I believe, is in
Yes, Mount Shasta in California.
that means that we're supposed to be cultivating supreme discipline on our root chakra as well. So
Right.
it's kind of like I said, you gotta read the signs and the symbols because everything on planet Earth is basically a doctrine of signatures of who we are genetically. So whatever the planet is doing, you gotta be in alignment with that same energy. So
Right.
so whatever corresponds with that. So like I said, it corresponds with celestial bodies as well. So that's how I see it.
Yeah, that's important to know. Like you said, it all draws back to the body. When certain alignments are happening like this, we got to understand as well. Like, of course, we're dealing with electromagnetic energy.
Mm-hmm.
We're dealing with sound. These planets give off a specific sound. If we understand, for example, how DNA works, DNA, sits in a fluid in our body, and it oscillates, which gives off an acoustic resonance, which is relative to sound. So when they talk about having a sound mind and body, it's predicated on being able to intrinsically understand what this alignment is actually telling you relative to your own personal experience.
Right.
When these alignments are happening, you got to be conscious and aware of what you're doing on the day to day. So, for example, like when you apply order within your everyday affairs, that's you moving into a specific alignment. So you can move in a rhythm to a song that you can't audibly hear, but it's resonating with the acoustic nature of the DNA because the DNA acts as what you call a phase conjugate mirror. And what I mean is the DNA specifically teleports information across the waters. And when I speak about waters, I'm talking about the medium we exist in. The medium itself has a crystalline lattice that this genetic information can translate on faster than the speed of light, predicated on it oscillating within the waters in our body, creating the acoustic and the electromagnetic nature of DNA, which is literally like a hologram. So this
Mm.
hologram is a genetic imprint of your specific signature that
Right.
teleports across the waters faster than the speed of light. And when I say waters, I'm talking about the crystalline status of the air that we exist in. It travels on this lattice and can communicate to, say, these planets that are moving in sync or moving into a specific alignment. So phase conjugate mirror is predicated on that teleporting information going out to the stars and then coming back on the same exact path in a more reordered fashion. So that way that information can come down that same streamline, return back to the body, and correspond the information and the sound that's coming from this planetary alignment down to the body itself. So afterward, on a day-to-day basis, you continue to move in sync with being in a specific alignment. You know, you literally again begin to dance with that specific rhythm, and everything in your personal affairs begin to acquiesce to a sequence of alignments.
Now, this probably would have been the first time in recorded history that the planets, you know, came into alignment on planet Earth and was surrounded by what they would call space junk or satellites, right? So the way that the planet Earth is surrounded by Starlink and other satellites, right? Would that play any role of intervention or somewhat of a hindrance to the energy and the, you know, let's just say the neurons that these planets will be releasing as a result of their alignment?
It can be used as a usurpation process.
Okay.
Because, you know, because you having an influx of AI technology that's also connected to this, you know, this energy grid system.
Right.
Because, you know, when you get into, you know, the esoteric science of Gnosticism, it pretty much denotes the fact that we live in a prison planet, and it's encapsulated by, you know, that Van Allen belt, that lunar light lock, that basically puts an encryption over the planet, which puts an encryption over our physical abilities. When you're talking about psychometry, clairvoyance, intuition, telepathy, this is why, you know, every once in a while you're able to tap into that energy, because there's different pockets open, because the magnetic field on the planet has holes in it. So this is where you get deja vu. This is where you get interface transitions, where you get glitches in the matrix.
Okay.
You know, because like that's going to happen over the more these energies coming in, is going to manipulate all those satellites and those technologies. That's what Elon Musk is in play for. He is being used to basically destabilize the awakening process, artificial intelligence and technology.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. What Bdell's referring to as far as your little pockets, you know, that are producing our magnetic field is predicated on the sun and the activity of the sun relative to what you call a flux transfer event. That's what, you know, basically creates almost like an alignment with the sun and a planet, and then when that alignment happens, there's like almost what you would consider almost like a, I wouldn't say a wormhole, but what it does is it creates a weak spot in the magnetic field to allow energy, you know, whether neutrinos or whatever, to come through. And those pockets or windows are what we're speaking about relative to tapping in when you move in a sequence of a specific alignment within your own immediate reality. So those windows you hit based on following literally cosmic law. You know, we could talk about satellites, but at the end of the day, that's a form of a kinetic energy that's predicated on material aspects. Cosmic law governs all. So you
pass
know,
through all of that.
yeah, it crashes through all of that.
Neutrinos pass through all of that.
Fact.
Doesn't matter.
Those are them Holy Ghost particles. That's what I call them.
Yeah.
Right.
Holy Ghost particles.
Higgs boson.
Yep.
So let us shift gears a little bit.
Okay.
And get into the title of tonight's lesson. Okay. Very interesting title, you know. But behind the title is always a mind-blowing perspective, might I add. So the name of this lecture tonight, ladies and gentlemen, is Magnetic Minds and Masonic Moves. All right, featuring Alkebulan44 and Bdell1014, hosted by your good brother Red Pillar. Real quick, what does the 1014 stand for, King?
Oh, it's my birthday, 1014.
Okay,
Yep.
all right,
Yep.
all right. I thought it was I thought we was looking at Gucci Man in the 1017. Like Bdell got the other crew. He lived down the block or so.
Yeah, yeah, it's my birthday.
Okay, yeah, that's the activation right there.
Mm-hmm.
You feel me? That's the activation. So salute. That's Libra. That's Libra.
Yep, Libra energy.
Okay, that's what's up.
That
That's
sounds
my old man, my pops. Here, Libra and whatnot. Alkebulan, let's get into the title and break this down real quick. Let's unpack this.
Mm-hmm. So what we got is magnetic minds and Masonic moves. So and I watch, and shout out to you, Bdell, for the breakdowns. You be doing a solid job on those. Me and my girl were just talking about it here a little bit ago, because I referenced it to her so she can watch it. But you did a solid job on that, and you spoke about the maritime law, because a lot of people don't understand like what's really transpiring relative to jurisdiction. You know, and we can't talk about it all on here, but you know, there are certain land masses that are being shifted, and more specifically, you know, we're going off an artificial ley line, which is predicated on the grand. They call it, I think, the Greenwich line. It's a specific meridian line, but they call it in the
Greenwich. Yeah, Greenwich. Mhm.
They call it an imaginary line. So that takes us off of a specific alignment. And they're not going off the real actual meridian lines, which one is in Washington, D.C., and the other one is in San Bernardino, California. So say if people were to survey the land and they wanted to claim claim territory in a specific area, say on the east side, they would use Washington, D.C.'s meridian, and then on the west, they would use San Bernardino's.
Right.
What's happening is we're utilizing the imaginary or artificial meridian line as San Bernardino's meridian line. So that pushes us literally into the Pacific Ocean. So this what then continues to tie us into Admiralty law, you know, the law of the seas, when technically we're supposed to be on the land. So when you see, for example, like you know, Kendrick Lamar representing California, even Travis Scott's most recent video I put up on my page, he's repping Houston, Texas. It's all relative to a claim of a specific territory, and henceforth why, you know, California fires are happening. You know, and it's happened before, of course, like Trump got into office. So, you know, when we're talking about claiming jurisdiction over certain land, you have to know where you're at. But if you're utilizing an artificial or an imaginary meridian, you'll never know not only what time you're in cosmically, but you'll never really be able to claim any form of jurisdiction on the land itself, because by law, what they're doing is they continue to shift that line over, which puts us in the seas. You know, so this then now allows us, like I said, to be governed over, you know, Admiralty law and all of these, rules per se. So
I'm glad you said that, because you know, one thing you got to understand about the Piscean age of darkness, the great majority of that old corporation was under that energy. So you can't really have a democracy and you can't really have a patriarchy in a sun cycle. So that's why everything has to basically transition, and it's all based on the precessional circle of the equinox. That's why I said that, you know, the corporation has been over Donald Trump. He's been the president. He signed the Second Declaration of Independence in, I think it was in 2020, right? I believe it was in 2020, July the 4th, I believe. He signed the Second Declaration of Independence. So that basically eradicated the whole, you know, perception of democracy. So I already knew it was going to be a transition. So with that being said, that old energy of the three city states that governs, you know, maritime law and
right,
in all these, the functioning government in the corporation or whatever, that was under the age of Pisces. So I was just basing everything as far as like the alignment of the Aquarian age with the Republic under a sun cycle. So that's why I say I never thought that he was going to be president. I mean, I never thought that Joe Biden was still going to be president, or Kamala or whatever, because of that alignment with the procession.
Right.
So same thing actually takes place when you're talking about maritime law. So it's under that same faction because it's extracted from patriarchy.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And maritime law came about when back, because what had happened was, when the Europeans started coming over here, colonizing, and they would cross the waters, but they would cross salt water, not fresh water. But on the land, you had admiralty courts that wanted to govern everything. So what had happened was basically you had kings and then you had merchants, and admiralty law was in competition, or admiralty courts was in competition with like common law court, for example. So admiralty law wanted to claim jurisdiction over everything. So there was a conflict of interest because admiralty law was set up on the land relative to ships on the water, and any form of like disagreements on the water, any form of like troubles that was going on the seas. Admiralty law on the land would dictate, which again was a conflict of interest. So moving forward, when you start introducing like kings used admiralty law in relative to commerce.
Right.
But the second class citizens used who were called merchants, use what you call merchant law, or that's where maritime law comes in. So you got trade and commerce. Kings use commerce, and then the merchants use trade. So what happened was basically once the merchants began to utilize the king's currency in their business, that's what allowed the kings to then claim jurisdiction over the merchants based on them utilizing their currency. And that's how maritime and admiralty law came about. So now today you get what you call admiralty maritime law. It's two of the same jurisdiction, but not really, because you're dealing with a separation of power at the end of the day. Because you got 4 jurisdictions total. You got common law jurisdiction, you got equity jurisdiction, you got admiralty jurisdiction, and you got maritime jurisdiction. So in that, like Bdell was talking about, basically maritime deals with banks, law of the banks, and the waters and things of that nature. So again, going back to what I was saying, when they're moving the goalposts relative to certain meridian lines, they're pushing us back into utilizing the quote unquote king's currency, which now gives them jurisdiction over us because we're still dealing in admiralty law.
And you can see the whole thing playing out with the sports too, because the Eagles, they're basically personified as, that's what I call the black nobility faction. Then you got the Chiefs as the indigenous people. So that energy as the black nobility faction, they coming over here with that type of order, coming over here with that type of principle.
Right. And they're gonna meet in New Orleans of all places.
Facts.
The Louisiana Purchase.
Man.
The Eagles is the Republic, and the Chiefs. I mean, it's right in itself.
Right.
And the highlight of the whole event is a man from Compton, a young man from Compton, who's going to be basically the center of attention, and he's going to be performing the grand ritual at the grand ritual, which is the halftime show.
And like you were talking.
Go ahead. My bad.
No, like you were talking about in your video too, Bdell. And Sister Myra referenced it too. She said, the Super Bowl represent, the rise of Osar, the 14 pieces.
Yes.
When you see, like, for example, like a Kendrick Lamar versus Drake, that's a personification of that. Him performing at the Super Bowl is symbolic of that resurrection of the whole man. Because like I've been talking about on my page, these times are predicated on the healed woman resurrecting the dismembered man back whole again. So that Asar mythology plays out, and Kendrick, like I said, is a personification of that concept. So everything is in a correspond. Everything is in alignment. Everything is in alignment.
And he also, you look at the cover. I think he had the crown of thorns on his head, basically in alignment, emulating Christ, the Christ energy.
So he's bringing a Scorpio in with Scissor. He's a Gemini. He's bringing in a Scorpio to do the work against the Scorpio. She's a female Scorpio as that. Alkebulan, you brought up the whole man. I wanted to know, do you study Nietzsche? And are you familiar with the last man and the Ubermensch? And also the Promethean myth?
Yeah, the Promethean. Yeah, I'm familiar with that.
So the Promethean myth, rather, speaks about Prometheus being to the Nordics or to the Western man similar to what Eve was in terms of her snatching or stealing knowledge from the tree. Prometheus stole fire from Zeus. And fire is what brought the Nordics to their Ubermensch. Fire is what the white man or the European used to forge themselves out of the ice, out of ice age, out of the caves. It helped them cook, eat meat, conquer, burn, scorch earth. And they were saying that fire is the ultimate tool that they would identify with, and they tie everything back to Prometheus. So the Europeans that we see on the stage today, the Elon Musk, the Zuckerbergs, all the way down to the Rogans, and now they're great white hype or the great white hope, which would be Trump. He is personifying what is known as the overlord or the Ubermensch, right? Which in Germany would be their Superman, but not in the terms of Clark Kent Superman. The Superman is the man who he's the man who goes to Mars. He's the man who builds cities. He's the man who forges and conquers the wilderness and conquers the beasts in the West, and they forge and manifest destiny. That's why you heard Donald Trump, his whole inauguration speech was to electrify, galvanize, and charge up the base that understands exactly what he's saying. For the people in the back to be like, I'm not getting it. It's not for you.
Right.
So that he's not talking to you. He's not speaking your language. He's speaking to the White Walkers. He's speaking to the people who recently were dying deaths of despair. Remember, he helped to bring these people back to life. They were dying off. Some of us live in cities where there's a high rate of opioid addiction. There's a high rate of deaths of despair. European men drinking themselves to death in America, of all places. You can't make it here. God damn it. Where you gonna make it at? You lily white, destroying yourself and claiming that you don't have no opportunity and life is hard on you and the ladies don't like you, fam. I see the loss of some DNA right here. Like, we're gonna have to reevaluate this one.
Right.
This was a whole nation going through this. The negative birth rate, all of these things. So over the last 10 to 20 years, in the shadow of this whole Obama thing, you have these Europeans rising up, right? The Jake Pauls, the Andrew Tates, speaking to the masculinity of a broken people. They don't want to even be that. They don't even want to, they were literally tapping out, right? And then they come along with this speech to where they're like, we're going to forge forwards. We're going to Mars, which buys them another 100 years if people sit around and allow that shit to even be a reality. Like, if they buy into that, you're just giving these people another 50 to 100 years, to stick around and to bluff you And you know, they got caught bluffing by China. China exposed the fact that they big bluffers, and the biggest drop on the stock market took place yesterday, right?
Mm-hmm.
And to break it down in layman's terms, what took place is that they got caught bluffing. That's all. The Western man is the biggest bluffer that you'll ever come across. I'm just here to let you know.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and in certain places, if somebody calls your bluff, like Russia and China can call their bluff. There's not too many people on this planet that can call these people's bluff and mess up markets around the world. They
Right.
are some that can. We could do it as well.
Mm.
You know, what are your thoughts as in the panel and whatnot? I want to know what are your thoughts about this whole, you know, the inauguration speech and
Mm.
this rise of the white visionary, the European as a visionary, as a futurist, as a world builder.
Mm.
What do you feel about
I
that?
believe that's an artificial construct, because first of all, we all know that we shouldn't believe in anything that they've been saying, all throughout these years under the age of Pisces, because it was basically the age of deception. So
Right.
one thing to look at it, because they know that we're in a time period where the meek is going to inherit the earth, and those who was basically are connected to the Fibonacci sequence of planet Earth, is going to be a certain intelligence that's going to combat the energies that basically subjugate us under the timeline of Pisces. So it's going to be one of those things where it's going to be it's I can't really find the words for it, because it's something it's way beyond our perception. It's more metaphysical, but
Yes.
I know there's a scientific explanation for it, but it's going to get down to the point where your genetics is going to play a part in it. And some people, certain demographics of people, they're going to have their intelligence cut off. And it's going to transition to a different demographic of people who's been, subjugated during that timeline. So
Right.
that's why I said that's what I think that transitional shift is going to be happening. That's why you're having an influx of all these celestial alignments, all these the magnetic field being weakened. You're having a multitude of things that's happening on the planet, and it's basically corresponding with who we are genetically, because we are original people that's connected to the original land. So over the course of time, like I said, with they're trying to create the perception of the European being the at the apex of masculinity and
Right.
that they can only do that. That's why they use media and everything to do that, because that's not the real spill. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? Because I think in Freemasonry, we didn't cover ourselves up with the aprons and stuff like that. In order to be a real masculine man, you can't have a small phallus. But
Right.
that's acclimated to their culture and in their rituals, and why they wear aprons and things of that nature, which is a sign of deviancy. So their
Right.
rituals, you know what I'm saying, it don't even correspond with with their true reality and how they carry themselves, genetically and things of that nature. So
Yeah, like you said, yes, it's an inferiority complex.
facts.
The fact that they even are still using federal notes to denote themselves to be rich, to us anyway,
Right.
stipulates the type of weakness, not only economically, but just in a way where they don't understand the true riches of what uh, rich really represents. When you're speaking about, again, the body itself, Freemasonry is really predicated on the study of the mind and the body.
Mm-hmm.
So when we see these outward representations of Freemasons, European, like whether we're talking about Knights of the Templar, things of that nature, these individuals studied, of course, our sciences, put themselves in a high society, demonstrating themselves through symbology, but it's predicated on the body itself. It's
Mm-hmm.
Right.
predicating on knowing how to architect the mind. It's understanding that when we're talking about the triple blackness, when we're talking about even down to what we consider the black sun, we're talking about more of an initiatory experience.
Mm-hmm.
Our ancestors would take, whether it's shrooms and things of that nature to go within the body to understand how the mechanics of the body work. And then outwardly, they demonstrated that through not only symbols, but structures, megalithic, structures, whether we're talking about the pyramids that align with certain actual meridian lines on the planet that tie directly into the stars relative to their electromagnetic flux, the pyramids themselves. So understanding that correspondence, we gotta, as a people, begin to understand that our hierarchy dwells a lot bigger than just a third dimensional reality. And when we see these Elon Musk and Trump, people like these parading themselves as superior, we got to understand that we have an actual reality state after death. And see, the new goal is to be able to supersede beyond the speed of light by going within the body. And when I say that specifically, I'm talking through whether you're doing meditation, whether you're doing any form of reflection, because their death is more or less a permanent one. And when I say that, the capacity for them to be able to extrapolate, the electromagnetic spectrum is small, predicated on what we consider, melanin. So we exist outside of time and space, and we have the capacity to reach beyond the speed of light, but it's all relative to doing the healing first. And when I say healing, I'm talking about going within. So one key feature in that is meditation. So like I said, when we see these Elon Musk and these individuals, we supersede beyond that. We got to believe that though, and we got to understand that the idea now is to be able to keep the body beyond death. And when I say death, I'm talking about an actual initiatory experience by going within the body and the inner mysteries and coming out and telling the story of what the heart weighing of the heart ceremony looks like. Telling the story of what the ferry boats that you've seen on the walls in Kemet were. Talking about the story of the waters, talking about the story of Noon and Geb and things of that nature. Being able to actually personify this experience by you actually going through the experience of death, but coming back out and maintaining the body, and then being able to, not only genetically pass that information on through vertical gene transfer with your partner, but also be able to tell the story as a story is told through word of mouth. So we lose once we lose the fear of death. We begin to understand like we have an actual reality state beyond this existence or visible light spectrum that they can only maintain predicated on, again, going back to the body itself.
Right.
So that's why the great majority of everything, like I said, they got to create things to leave this plane, but we already have it in us.
Right.
That's why they go so hard at us, all the destabilization, all the economic disenfranchisement. They try to keep us, down so much to the point we don't tap into the resources in order for us to go within. Because like I tell people all the time, in order to lead the matrix, you gotta use the matrix in order to get out. So you gotta use the incentives of the matrix. You gotta they try to keep us distracted for so much, you know what I'm saying? It's so many afflictions that basically subjugates our mind to the point where we're not able to tap in and internalize our issues.
And one key thing with that too, though, is when we talk about mastering the matrix, we're talking about, again, returning back to status, proper status.
Fact.
So we're talking about working or changing our status to the private. We're talking about doing business with the corporation of the United States, but not being under the jurisdiction of the corporation. You see, so that's all relative to, again, about demonstrating yourself, whether you call it sovereignty, whether you call it a free man, but demonstrating yourself to be a part of the matrix, but not intrinsically under the jurisdiction of the matrix.
Right. I want to know from both of you brothers. I've been making an observation that there may be more than one timeline running concurrently in this reality. That there are some people who wake up every day and experience a completely different reality than what other people are experiencing, right? So can you both speak to, the theory that there are different timelines running concurrent in this reality right now?
Well, especially at the I know you brought up the inauguration, but that's
Yeah.
kind of in alignment because I did some gematria. Um, One thing I notice about when they do timeline jumping, they do it through numerical codes, basically. So from the inauguration and during the time when Aleister Crowley, when he was born, I think it's like 7,777 weeks, and he's under the theory of 7-7. And then
Right.
from the time that Donald Trump got elected, that and from the time that Aleister Crowley died, or I think it was his birthday, it was exactly 77 weeks and 7 days. So I know that you can basically timeline jump and do incarnate yourself by way of the numerology or whatever.
Right.
So that's one thing I noticed about that, like as far as like timeline jumping, because I know they use the metaphysics of numbers in order to basically materialize themselves in different timelines, basically. There's kind of like it's a book that I was reading. I can't find it, but it's kind of like a book talking about rituals. And, the guy in the book, he said it if he basically gave the analogy, if he's born in 1912 or 1948 or something like that, he'd have sex with a woman who was born in 1984 in order for him to incarnate in that timeline by way of the numbers. Because when you're looking at a number, it's basically like a mirror flip.
Right.
1984 or 1948, it's a mirror flip. Just like when you're looking at a mirror, it's a different dimensional reality. The same thing actually transduces with the numbers. So that's one thing I was saying, like they do timeline jumping, and they already tapped into that metaphysical information. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So that's how they keep coming back and then putting themselves in power by way of the numerology, because the universe is mathematical. So they already know the codes, the binary key codes.
Do you feel like I'm gonna let you? All right, go ahead, and I'm gonna ask you the next question. Go ahead, Alkebulan.
Oh yeah, okay.
Now, I want the family to look into something called transaction interpretation of quantum mechanics. Transaction interpretation of quantum mechanics. One key feature as to why even timelines are coming together is, again, like I spoke about earlier in the show, is predicated on them shifting meridian lines, which dictate time zones. There's ways where you could literally supersede your own immediate reality by timelines merging, but you got to know where those convergences take place. One way, in order to make sure you fall into an alignment relative to tapping into these convergence zones, is through, and what I spoke about this a couple of months ago, is through getting involved with your partner via tantric experiences.
Right.
When you play around in that act and make it as a ritual as it is, you're dealing with a science called torsion tincture. And what I mean specifically is literally that electromagnetic energy between the two coming together relative to compression of your magnetic fields initiates a fold in space and time, which allows you literally to bend space and time. And when we think about dimensions, we got to think about dimensions as cylindrical. So dimensions are folded within dimensions. It's a folding process.
Right.
So in order to be able to align with these timeline convergence, like I said, one way to do it is to merge, electromagnetically via your partner and make it a more or less a ritualistic experience.
I will go back to back and synchronize my breathing with my mate. You know what I mean? To get on one accord and to get into one flow, especially if there's some type of intercourse and the heartbeat becomes one. That's where you basically in 0 point. I gotta shout out the good brother in the building, Q Reeves, aka Stan Lee, because he got on Black Magic and he wrote the X-Men Uncanny, you know what I mean, back into existence. And he really helped he helped me with the way that I've been seeing things, and he activated a whole lot of people in that chat.
Mhm.
Now I'm gonna go on record and I'm gonna say this: in 2025, being able to assess what I witnessed, the great convergence on December the 21st, 2020, is when mad people turned into mutants.
Mm.
That was the great awakening. I am meeting so many people in my journeys right now, y'all, who literally got superpowers, and every single one of them sans, I would say 9, I'll say 8 out of 10. I'm like, yo, when did you turn on? When did you get this light? At the Great Conjunction. 12, 21,
Mm-hmm.
2020.
Mm.
Remember the Great Conjunction?
Mhm.
Absolutely.
We were all on, we were doing what was big around that time? What's that app? The app where you be on the phone.
I know what you're talking about.
Clubhouse.
Clubhouse,
That was
right?
the days of the Clubhouse. But I would go on record, and that's not to take away from what other people have tapped into, but um a whole new class of mutants turned on that day.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
And we are living in a Simeon Toko reality timeline. Like I'm saying, there's different timelines. There's timelines where people are living on some Henrietta Lacks,
Mm.
Simeon Toko type shit, you know what I mean? Immortal cells and whatnot. And then there's another timeline where dudes is just tapping out,
Mm.
you know.
That's, I guess
People
you
are
can personify that as the great separation.
the greatest of greats.
Yes, facts.
The greatest of greats. Like you talk about the chosen ones,
Hmm.
like the divide has been taking place. Theoretically speaking, the test presented itself as the C-19 and the Jabberwocky. Are you
Hmm.
gonna get the shot? Or are you gonna? Are you sure you're not gonna get the shot? You positive about that? You mean to tell me you didn't see the news today? Nigga, I don't watch the news.
Right.
I watch YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not in your timeline. I'm not in your reality. I don't see what you see. Remember, belief is what? Perception. What you perceive, you believe. So people listening to Fauci on the TV, they listen to Dr. Phil and all of this crazy stuff.
Hmm.
Different timelines. Kendrick said, I cut my granny off if what? If she don't see it like I see it.
Mm.
So you live, you work, you live, you domicile, you share space with people who don't see it like you see it. We not in the same timeline. We don't even exist in the same dimension right now.
Facts.
Type shit. You taking up you know what I mean? Like we cross promoting. Like we're in a quantum entanglement.
Mm-hmm.
So in quantum superpositioning, things exist, but they don't exist around the same time. Like we around the same, we could be in the same room, but quantum entanglement wise, I'm in a completely different dimension than you, fam. No disrespect.
Facts.
No disrespect. I see things completely different than how you see. And I'm not about to start fixing your eyes. We won't do eye augmentation today. You see what you see. I see what I see.
Right.
Mm-hmm. And you, Bdell, you did a breakdown on the Luciferian symbology.
Um.
Um, where you talked about the sigil.
Oh, you talking about the sigil of Lucifer?
Right, right.
Yeah. It was basically like an emulation of the Khazarian Tamga and the Ukrainian crest.
Mm-hmm.
And it's also over the no-fly zone in Antarctica too.
Mm,
Right,
Hmm.
right. Because Red just brought up perception. You know, that symbol corresponds to the left brain and the right brain, how information is processed, you know, through the left eye, and information is processed through the right eye, but it creates an X or a cross. And
Mm.
that it's that specific symbol because as we know, Luciferian has several different connotations to it, but more from a religious Christian standpoint, it's something that's evil. Which a lot of these individuals that we're talking about, Elon Musk and things of that nature, deal or dabble more in the uglier side of it. So, when we talk about these people dominating the visible light spectrum, we're talking about the illusion of being tricked by way of what we're perceiving through the eyes, because the eyes serve as the what you call a Fourier transform. They literally take in data from light, which is the visible light spectrum, and recalibrate it in the brain as an image. So they can trick us, and that's what we're moving into, the trick of the eye. The idea for them to be able to manipulate the visible light spectrum and give us an illusion that is beyond imagination. So, whether we're talking about Blue Beam Project, whether we're talking about all
Magic
these,
Leap.
Yep.
There's a
exactly.
company called Magic Leap where they do augmented reality. And then when we talking about social media or anything in the digital realm, AI with deep fake, with like Sora, with the video, the generators and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
I could make a digital clone of myself right now, and I could have that clone host a podcast on Notebook LM. But I could literally go to Hey Jen and make a physical clone of Red Pill and have him go live on Instagram, and he could go live on TikTok Shop selling things. I could set it up with an automation right now.
That's crazy.
That's how far we are. And this is over the counter, just commercial stuff. You pay $20 for it. This is over the counter. Imagine what's under the counter. So literally at this point, you really can't trust what you see because they've manipulated the optical illusion, right? They've been able to play with our oculus and whatnot. Feel me? Our oculus and whatnot. And our eyes are not open enough to actually see the illusion that they've been able to perfect, because they're perfecting it. We will have to train our eyes to see more than the light spectrum when they start throwing the holograms and the blue beams and the augmented reality and the spatial reality out there. We're going to have to step up our eyesight from this small percentage to see the whole thing and be like, nah, that's a blue beam. I see the damn gamma ray. I see the microwave on it.
Right. And that's why, our ancestors, they banked on us to be able to have the skill set, because they knew matter, they knew the third dimension was the upside down reality, but they banked on us not to get caught up in that reality and flip it right side up. So a lot of times everything that's left is right. Everything that's actually up is down.
Yeah, right.
When you read a book,
In the upside down world.
right.
In the upside down world.
Right. It's an upside down world. But again, going back to the eye itself, the retina serves as, like I said, what you call a Fourier transform, Fourier transform. And the geometry is important of the retina and cones as well, because it's 8 rods surrounding one cone, and this ties into the original story of the Ogdo, the original 8 in Kemet in the creation story. So with our eyes serving as the decoder of electromagnetic radiation, we're supposed to take matter and flip it right side up, because that's technically what the retina does. If you were to see an image go within the eye, you would see the image on the eye flipped upside down. But
Facts.
see, that information is translated into the brain in what you call more of a spectral domain. And what I mean is everything that you're perceiving outside of you is just frequency, tone, and color. But see, our brain has the capacity to decode this data and flip it to its right its right orientation. So that's the space where the ancestors exist that we're supposed to get the information from, relative to knowing how to flip the outside reality right side up. And that information is what we utilize in order to perceive the outer reality and to truly decode what's really transpiring outside of us.
Is that what you have in these this sacred mathematical equations and on a poster, on a flyer? Hold on. Shout out to everybody with the super chat. Star C, Q Reeves, and Allure Hearts. Kid, everybody in the chat send some emoji love to the supporters of this channel, because the best nation is still a donation, and we appreciate everybody's support.
And also to tap into what Alkebulan was talking about, and that's why the great majority of everything that's coming from the technocrat system of the Republic and in Trump's administration is based on like putting an encryption over the brain. So when you study the holonomic brain theory, it talks about the suprachiasmatic nucleus, and that is basically an encryption over the mind. So in order to, like I said, in order to break out of that, like I said, you gotta, detach yourself from different things as far as like that's being propagated by the cybernetic dictatorship. Yeah, what I'm saying, certain things, a part of this matrix is going to get you to the next level, but you also got to, look at it from a meticulous standpoint also.
Sure.
Yeah.
It's definitely balancing.
Yeah.
It's moderation at its finest.
Yep.
I am a proponent of, the gods and the goddesses who interface with the technology to have a very well balanced reality and whatnot. You have to practice my art. You should be in touch with the electromagnetic field before you touch this quote unquote electronic motherboard and whatnot. You should be able to ground a little bit, sun gaze, sunbathe, just get in touch with nature before you get in touch with the computer. So when you go to the computer, you already have the ideas, put it on paper, like the God said, put it into the physical world on pencil, with a pencil preferably, or a pen, on paper first, and then go to the computer with it and whatnot. Because like the God was saying, the whole thing about social media is about retention rate, right? And Liar Cohen got on the Breakfast Club and he said, we don't need the money anymore, we only need the eyeballs, right?
Damn,
He
he
was
said
like, give me
real?
he's
Wow.
Lear Cohen, who left music to go and be in charge of YouTube because they showed him the game, and he said, give me the eyeballs, the eyeballs will pay more than the money. That's what he said that on the Breakfast Club, because at the end of the day, the business model in the music industry and the business model in entertainment change from them selling music to them basically retaining your attention through your eyes and whatnot. So we lived in a world where when I read the books, they said before Hollywood came, people understood things that they were looking at had some semblance of reality to it. Then you had plays and theater and whatnot that would trick the eyes and it would trick the mind. Then the moving picture came with Hollywood, and that was really a biggest trick and whatnot, because remember, the subconscious doesn't know if Batman is real or if he's fake, right? It doesn't know H.P. Lovecraft, these creations are real in somebody's mind, in some world where you exist in. Now technology has come with video games, with the CGI, and then AI, with generative AI. You're literally looking at things and you don't know it's propaganda, and it's lying to your eyeballs, to your retina, on multiple levels now. You on social media, there's people with dog filters and shit like that, and augmentation on their bodies and whatnot, augmentations on their pictures, augmentations all over. What is reality right now? So people are getting a disconnect from what they call perceivable reality. They're like, I hate it here. I don't like it here. It's not real here. I'm like, nigga, get outside. Go roll in the grass or something. You need to go roll around on the grass. If you don't got no grass, go find something. Get outside, because literally you are in like General Zod when he was in that glass, like when he was in that, when Superman put him in that glass cage. That's how people are stuck on their phones right now. You in the Black Mirror, and you damn right it's sucking your life away. You damn right it's sucking your humanity away. It's turning people into a robot, because when you type LOL on the phone, you just forfeited language. The way that you communicate. What the hell is a LOL? Nigga, laugh, right? People are becoming very much more robotic, and with the robotic is coming dehumanization or desensitized. So when you look around and you look at the way people are carrying out their unalivings and whatnot, is from the standpoint where it's heartless. It has no sympathy anymore. There's no compassion, right? The more robotic we become, the more detached we become. People just become objects now. People just become, it's like a video game. So the young boys is outside playing Call of Duty and Grand Theft Auto, but the adults is on Tinder playing Dahmer and Netflix and Kill. They're copycat murdering what they're being programmed through this apparatus that's lying to our appenditure. You know what I mean? It's lying to our optics. It's giving you, it's programming people at this point.
And that's all because of instant gratification. Yeah. Everybody want things.
Dopamine trigger.
Yep.
Yeah. We're losing the like Red said, we're losing the compassion. We're losing the capacity of self-similarity, being able to see the outside as the inside. You know, it's the same feeling that you feel when you see a homeless man and you feel a level of compassion, you know, or you see a baby that's hurt, you know what I mean? You feel it, you know, but that's literally you having the capacity to see the outside as the inside. It's a fractal type of dynamic predicated on a spiral. So being able to utilize that self-similarity concept is relative to compassion. Because like I've always expressed, you know, you can't even say compassion without saying compass. And compass is what you utilize as your mind or magnetic field to gauge and be able to use to maneuver relative to the heart. And the heart is what produces the magnetic field. So it's all relative to moving heart-centered, being heart-centered, being able to feel for people. And with the technology and the lack of interface with people, now that we can text, DM, and things of that nature, we're losing touch with reality. And that's what it is.
Yep, because you gotta use your emotions as a navigation system.
Right.
You gotta use that as a catalyst, and that's what we're not doing.
That's right. So look, fellas, this conversation is powerful. I'm gonna get cursed out from Blue Pill for not having him up here. We will do this again.
Okay.
Q Reeves is in the audience. I'm inviting you, Q. I need you to be a part of this panel. I need, you know, we need to bring these scholars together. I look at us like how DeepSeek, the new OpenAI model, it was a group of smaller models that came together to form DeepSeek. These are a group of genius models that were patched together to bring down these bigger corporations and whatnot. So we are open source intelligence machines, but we owe it to ourselves to you know, to come together, to bring our weights together and whatnot, to become one divine intelligent machine. You feel me? Because on the other side, on Castle Grayskull side, those people are, you know, on the WWE side, Hulk Hogan, Trump, and all of those wrestlers and whatnot, they putting their tights on, they lacing their boots up, they getting on a New World Order Triple H shit, and you know they riding. And I'm not using that as a result, as a means to say we shall overcome. We needs to get together. No, we are better and more efficient when we combine our machines and whatnot, because it's that time that we really put points on the board and whatnot, because these are the times that we were all prepared for and groomed for. I was going to ask a question when Alkebulan had first came into the building to our good brother Bdell1014, and guess what? I'm 1114.
Oh wow!
I
Yeah,
overlooked
yeah, it's a
that.
whole
I'm
month.
1114. I want to know from you, King, before we wrap this up. We're going to take some questions from the chat, though. But
Okay.
before we wrap this one up, who would you say is your inspirations as master teachers? And I pose that same question to Alkebulan. Connect that question to the question I asked you about you being able to juggle the schools of thought or integrate the schools of thought and knowledge into a fusion consciousness that I don't even think you should give it a name. It's just your thing, right? Like you got an algorithm, Alkebulan, and the minute somebody puts a name on it or tries to define it, they dilute it. You know, whatever the thing that you do with the colors and the numbers and all of that, that's just some God frequency type of thing. That's a God algorithm. So I want to know from both of these good brothers on the panel, your inspirations and the master teachers who basically helped you get here.
Well, I told Asil Ducateers that, you know, how I demonstrate my presentations, I got that from him.
Okay.
So, you know, pay homage to him. So
salute
it's
to him.
Years, Dr. Malachi Z. York, who else? You and Blue Pill, because y'all kind of like how Fabulous is in the music industry. Y'all able to stay around, bro. Like y'all know how to, you know, tap into certain algorithms and be relevant. And y'all been doing this thing for many different years. So y'all, one thing I like about what y'all do, y'all cultivated a balanced energy to where you can make being knowledgeable and, you know, being conscious while being yourself and cool at the same time.
Salute.
So I like that. Another great teacher, Dr. Phil Valentine, of course. Pretty much like everybody who's been, you know, given the edification on Brother Rich's channel. So, but the ones that mostly stand out that I watched the most was you, your brother Blue Pill, Dr. York, and Asil Ducateers.
Indeed.
And
Indeed.
Dr. Yeah.
All right. Alkebulan.
I would say like very beginning, Phil and Bobby,
Right.
were my two.
Folks.
You binged off of them for a minute at my earlier stages. And then I would say Professor Kaba. People know him as
Okay.
Booker T. Coleman. He taught me, you know, a certain poise to have when you teach, a certain
Right.
calmness about you. You know what I mean? I like his demonstration with that the way that he teaches. And of course, you and Blue, you know, y'all have been instrumental. Even before me and Blue ever did work together. So I would say that, and like just to piggyback off what Bdell said, like y'all
Reggie
brought
back.
that
Reggie back.
Reggie back, Mike. Reggie back. I would say like what Bdell was saying, y'all are instrumental in the aesthetic and basically being able to bring that youthful energy to the conscious community. Because I
That
remember
was
the first video.
important.
Yeah, I remember the first video I seen Blue spitting on the corner out there when Sinetta and them was prominent. He was talking about frequency, but he was putting it in a way that was dope because I never seen somebody speak like that, but have the aesthetics like myself. You know what I'm saying? To fit it
Right.
like this regular dress, like you know what I'm saying, and that was ill. So yeah, I would say those people. I would say it's a lot. Shout out to my girl. She's instrumental as well, as a demonstrator and a teacher too for me.
Indeed.
And man, I see her the Duke of Tears. It's mad people. Inky is another one. Yeah, I would say yeah,
KT.
those is it. KT,
Yeah.
KT. Yep.
KT, yeah,
You know,
KT,
silent killer.
yeah, KT. Yeah, I know. I feel like I'm missing mad people, but yeah, I would say like that was my foundation when I first started. Definitely Phil and Phil and Bobby for sure.
Did y'all get into the good brother Azazel at all?
No, I don't. I'm not.
Azariah,
No, I'm not familiar.
Hakeem Bey.
Yeah, I know who that is.
Hakeem Bey, yeah.
Okay.
Brother Panic was another one. Shout
Oh
out
yeah,
to
Brother
Yeah,
Panic,
definitely.
Double
Go
Blair.
without saying.
Yeah.
Double Blair, yeah, Double Blair.
Yeah. So there's like a lineup that we're
Isn't-
all familiar with, and that's great when I ask, because I'm gonna have to ask everybody that comes here those same questions, because I just want to know. You feel me? Like it's I don't judge. I just want to know like where we are, where certain people are in terms of their what they call, not your villain arc, but your hero arc, right? And what they call your coming of age story. I think everybody is a
Oh,
documentary in their self about how they became who they became. Real
yeah.
talk.
Shout out another one, A Rashid, because they keep coming to
Oh,
me.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I was
I
about to
cannot.
say
Yeah,
Rashid.
that's what I'm saying. There's mad people I'm missing.
it's mad.
Mad
That
people.
that I'm saying
Uh,
it's so many.
yeah.
It's so many. It's sung and unsung, right?
Yes.
It's
Shout
like
out to Q Reeves in the building too. Before I forget, because we did a monumental build as well. It was me, him, Eileen Bay, Blue, and KT. This was like back in 2020.
Okay.
dope.
We did a show back then. That was dope. But
Yeah.
yeah, so I know they're gonna keep coming up. It's mad people I'm forgetting, but
They're
yeah,
definitely gonna keep coming up. This how I want to end it though. What are your thoughts of the gathering that's taking place on February the 8th and the importance of sound word power and also incorporating hip hop culture? I ain't say just rap, but hip hop culture into what it is that we do, our magic.
Well, yeah, there's gonna be rapping and like you said, and there's gonna be some spoken word, but spoken word in itself is very powerful because it's based on the oral traditions that was extracted from indigenous culture. So especially during this time, like they do a lot of rituals and incantations during the time period of these Super Bowls. So it's good for us to, to come together in the form of a cosmic convergence because when we start speaking truth to power and you mix that in with some art, that truth is going to travel on 0 point energy fields and basically combat whatever that they was trying to propagate by way of the rituals that they're going to be using during the Super Bowl.
Mm.
yeah.
Damn.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm glad that Brother Rich, he always had these events because I think the Lionsgate portal was open up for the gathering of the masters.
Yes.
Now we got this, you know what I'm saying? We got this going on. I think you said it's on the
And
8th.
I believe the planets will be lined up around that time as well.
Right.
I mean, they just started lining up, but they'll be locked in by the 8th. Real quick, I'm gonna just get a word from our sponsors before we get. Oh, let me get to Alkebulan, then we're gonna go to the word from the sponsors. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, what? Repeat the question, Red.
I wanted to know, the brother Rich has an event coming up on February 8th called the Non-Ether God Fest, and I want to know from you, what is your what's the power of the gathering, like when we all come together in the physical, in ceremony, right, to celebrate what sound word power. Like, this is not a lecture per se, this is more musical, more celebratory, so it's more ritualistic because it's going to have the drums, it's going to have the dance, it's going to have the music. And then, of course, the main ingredients was his bringing all of the brothers and sisters together, right? That dielectric energy, that charge and whatnot. So I was asking, like, what is the scientific perspective of when people of a certain frequency get together? Like, what do we unlock? What do we create? What fields do we create? What do we collapse?
I mean, we gotta remember the air itself is electrostatic. You know, you'll notice certain people like celebrities, for example. I'm just using them for an example, you know, because their entropy is crazy. And when I say that, I'm saying because all eyes are always on them. So they have a certain level of electromagnetic charge relative to them. So you'll notice, like for example, when they walk into a building, it changes the dynamic of the building, the room itself.
Yeah.
There's a certain manipulation of the air that happens relative to their level of entropy. And when I say that, like I said, I mean a level of radiation that's taking place. So saying that to say, you know, when you get brothers and sisters together that have a certain a certain signature to them, that creates an imprint within that space that we're in. So you can correspond that to, you know, the phantom effect with DNA. Like I was speaking about earlier, on this build, DNA itself, you know, has a acoustic and electromagnetic nature to it, and DNA oscillates. So that oscillation is what generates an acoustic characteristic of it relative to sound. And electromagnetism, or the electromagnetic aspect of DNA, has a capacity to transport information. So when you're leaving your mark in a space, you know, you're creating a specific imprint that resonates, and so, as such, when you leave the building, that electrostatic signature is still imprinted in that space. So you feel the vibe of certain people
Mm.
when they're not even around, because their DNA imprint is still in that space. It's no different than, and I used this example before, like when you forget something, like you walking around the house and you forget what you was about to do, you always tend to like reverse and go back and do like kind of what you did to try to get that thought, or get that memory
Right.
back of what you did.
Right.
You walk
Backtrack.
that same pattern or that signature because you're tapping into the frequency that existed relative to the thought, because the thought is impregnant, is corresponding or embedded in the magnetic field of where you generated that original thought or that original concept, whatever relative you was gonna do. So when you come out of the room and walk into the living room, you'd be like, "Damn, what's I getting ready to do?" You tend to turn around, walk back into the bedroom, and you're able to channel in exactly what you were gonna do, predicated on, again, that electromagnetic signature that's still imprinted into that bedroom. So again, now times 10, when you get, again, people who have a specific signature to them, that leaves a literal imprint. And that's why we got to begin to overstand and tap more into the unseen, because like I said, even beyond you know, any event that we have together, you know, moving on 10, 20, 30 years, uh we got to understand, like Kemet, it deals with more of the invisible. It's just relative to them building structures to be able to tap into the invisible world.
Right.
So we're literally building invisible monuments in that space, just based on the electromagnetic signature or imprint that's there in the air.
Mm. That's beautiful, man. That's beautiful. Let's go to a few words from our sponsors and we'll be right back, y'all.
Okay.
All right. On February the 9th, that is the day after the Non Ether God Fest, we're going to be having a Superhero Super Bowl party at the Bookstore Gallery. That's 488 Edgewood Avenue, Atlanta, Georgia. All right. 488 Edgewood Avenue, Atlanta, Georgia. Doors open up at 4 p.m. all the way into the midnight hours. All right. And then on Friday, me and Blue Pill will be on Zoom doing our lecture for the series When in Rome, MAGAFest Destiny. That is this Friday on the 31st for the month of January. We're going to be doing MAGAFest Destiny, me and Blue. There's so much things to talk about when it comes to your boy and what they're doing.
Right.
We're going to be digging in. I'm also doing a 4-week AI accelerated workshop. We at the last week. Tomorrow will be the last week for our 4-week workshop. It was a smash. It was a bang. All type of new technology came out during these 4 weeks and changed the game forever. So we were able to get it in real time. Shout out to Spin City And on February the 7th, I'm dropping the album 44 Tops featuring the 44 Tops. All right, Schoolie Red and the gang.
Dope.
You know what I'm talking about? Yeah, that's gonna be. And then on Monday, we going to New Orleans to capture the energy of what's going down on that grid with Philadelphia, Kansas City, and New Orleans. Melanin Mondays IRL in New Orleans. Melanin Mondays IRL in real life. New Orleans at the Itel Gardens. That's gonna be a movie. You know what I'm talking about? So those are all of the things that we got going on. If you're in Atlanta, pull up to the Super Bowl party. We're gonna have performances. We're gonna have all type of stuff. And I've been hearing people say they want an after party from like midnight to maybe 4 a.m. Just pure music, dancing, you know, for the people that stay, because it's people that be outside late. So we'll see. We're gonna be on the ground. We're making all type of things happen for the family that comes to Atlanta to accommodate them and make this thing. It's all about the experience. It's all about the experience, and experiences are something that you can't do all over, and you can't buy them either. So with that being said, yeah, we out. We had a good night. There will be a part 2 to this, ladies and gentlemen. There will be a part 2 to this. I'm just letting y'all know. Can you leave us with some parting words from both of you good brothers?
Well, due to the fact that, you know, the planets correspond with our body, so since everything's in alignment, just make sure you stay in alignment, work out, read, do anything that's basically self-affirming, and use it as a catalyst for you to get to the next level.
Yes.
Yeah. Just always just remain steadfast. You know, integrity is key, you know. So you want to make sure that you're doing what you know is the right thing to do. You want to have courage as well, you know, and you want to treat people like you want to be treated. It's basic principles in life relative to just being a good person. So when you move with these certain principles and forces of nature that our ancestors would qualify them as loyalty, honor, you know, things of that nature, you move in step with a specific archetypal energy that imbued you with an ancestral dynamic that you move along with in your everyday affairs. So, you know, just basics, just basic characteristic traits, you know, just again, be honest, you know, tell the truth, whether it hurts, and always just continue to take care of your body. Like Bdell said, work out, you know, get into meditation, spend some time with self, and, you know, take care of the babies. That's all I got.
No doubt, brothers. I appreciate your demonstration. I appreciate your transmission. I appreciate your time and your energy. If you're not subscribed to the channel, ladies and gentlemen, please make sure that you hit the subscribe button. If you're not subscribed to Bdell's channel, please make sure that you hit the subscribe button. Go and sign up to Q Reeves' channel. You know, just show love, because that is free. It doesn't cost you a thing. You know what I mean? And we're gonna leave you with the 44 Tops album. Will be out on the 7th of February. Some cosmic soul. First time we'll be bringing this. You remember the Gorillas back in the days?
Yeah, the big
yeah. I always wanted to do something like that. So that's the 44 Tops. That's the Pillars version of the Gorillas and whatnot. But yeah, man, y'all stay up, man. Stay dangerous. You know what I'm talking about? And just know that the universe is conspiring for your success. All right? Peace, love, and light.
Peace. Peace.
Peace.
Red, blue, purple light. Red, blue, purple light. Friends, facts. Red, blue, purple light. Red, red, and blue, purple light. Friends, facts. You can get to know the letter, sacrifice. to know the legend. My love, just open your third eye on Thursday. Lord, the food, the art, the clothes, the Vatican's getting exposed fast. We put the show on the road. You better stay on your toes. I was till the land focused on the ego. Then I opened my heart, let go of the ego. Grand after grand, we stacking up these C notes. Facts, facts, yeah. We gon' put this shit on our backs. Facts, facts. We in your city, pull up where we at. Peace, love and light. Peace, love to the family. Peace, love and light to the family. Peace, love and light to the family.
These days and time, black man, is going to be the time that you have been waiting for. You came here for a reason. Whatever pressure, whatever adversity, whatever the fuck you feel, I don't know what you feel, but whatever you may be feeling is going to push you, and it's going to provoke you, and it's either going to make you or break you, similar to how pressure busts pipes or the shit makes diamonds.